Hey everyone, Dr. Nadia Rizzo here, naturopathic doctor, and I'm so excited to be bringing you this amazing live stream tonight. So the other night, my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Laura Belus and I were out to dinner, and I said to her, we were just having our normal chat, girl chat, and we were talking about things like hormones and relationships and how health plays a part in our relationships and pieces of the puzzle that we might be missing in order to have a whole picture of what's going on. I'm going to bring our guest, Dr. Laura Belus, on right now. So, of course, out of this friendly girl dinner chat, that always ends up turning into, of course, we have to tell women and men, couples in general, about this amazing information that we just had talking about for our own personal lives. So here's Dr. Laura Belus. I'm so excited to have her here. She's a naturopathic doctor. She works in the Toronto area, Greater Toronto area, and she works online. She is also the creator of Healthy Hormone Reset and 21-Day Detox programs, and she is the co-founder of Elevate Wellness Retreats. My dear friend and colleague, I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Dr. Nadia, you're always, part of some amazing discussions. And I know tonight will be such an amazing opportunity to chat more about two juicy topics.
So you are going to be bringing us through three main hormones that we need to pay attention to, or that merit attention rather, if we're having certain kind of issues. So go ahead and lead us through that.
Yeah, so I think when we chatted a little bit about hormones and relationships, a lot of people don't make the connection right away. What does one have to do with the other? My hormone balance, that's something different. My relationship, they don't go hand in hand, but actually they do. So hormones and relationships are so closely linked. The three that I want to talk about today are cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone. So cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone, those might be new for some people, or you might have heard of them before, but how they impact our relationships, that's going to be the new part. So I really want people to, grab a piece of paper and pen if they want and write some of these things down. But what I really want you to take away from the live tonight is just to understand, first and foremost, are my hormones in check? Could they be impacting my relationship? And the reason why they can be is because hormones affect so many things in the body: our confidence, our mood, our energy, our libido, a big one when it comes to relationships. So if we don't address our hormone levels and our hormone balance, I think that's a foundation that anybody on their own needs to do, of course, but especially when you're in a relationship. And specifically, we'll talk about intimate relationships today, but this goes for any relationship, whether that's your child, whether that's your significant other, or whether you run a business, when you have employees. Being your best self is directly related to your hormones.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I just want to, precede this by saying, I think one of the hormones that probably gets left unchecked oftentimes, as I see in my practice with my patients, is cortisol. I feel like in the conventional system, that's one that really doesn't get addressed too often. I won't get into, I'll let you, take that discussion. But I also just want to say that this isn't a discussion around if there is a different issue going on in the relationship. We're not saying automatically blame hormones, and we're not saying don't let that be something that is a finger pointing thing. Like, that's not what we're saying here. We're just saying have a whole picture. It can be a piece of the puzzle. We're not saying it's the whole puzzle, but we're saying if we're going to have a holistic approach, it's important to check these hormones and these three hormones specifically. So go ahead, Dr. Belus, tell us.
Yes. That's a great preface by saying that, hormones are not the whole part of the relationship, but they are such an important part if you want to get the full, live your fullest, really. And that includes anyone in your relationships in any capacity. So number one, let's start with, we'll leave cortisol for the end because that's a biggie, but let's talk about estrogen and testosterone. So first, let's talk about estrogen. First, let me start by saying that estrogen is not just a female hormone. It is present in men, just in lower amounts, but unfortunately, it's been tagged as the female hormone. Estrogen gets blamed for a lot. And I want to just let people know that some of the signs of estrogen excess you might relate to, but also it's important to understand that estrogen deficiency or perimenopause or menopause times of our life also might indicate that we're not performing at our best or we don't feel like ourselves. So excess estrogen is not a great thing. That's too much in the body. This can show up as feeling overly emotional, weight gain, bloating, heavy periods. Basically, the not so great symptoms that a lot of women will think is normal and part of being a woman. Estrogen is integral to our overall reproductive health and overall health, but too much is not a good thing.
Right.
And when it comes to relationships, a lot of women will tell me, I only get into arguments with my partner the week before my period, or, you know, the second half of my cycle. And that's a lot of time during the entire month to not feel like yourself. So I always tell women, okay, if we just step back for a moment and understand that if there is too much estrogen in the body, number one, it's absolutely correctable. We can work on this. We can detoxify the body. And like I said, there's overall health benefits to that. But it will make you more towards your, like you said, feeling like yourself. And a lot of women will say, I'm just less triggered. I'm less emotionally high or low. There's nothing wrong with showing our emotions, but it's about feeling like you are in control and having maybe hard conversations, maybe stressors come into play. If estrogen is through the roof, you are going to be more reactive. You're not going to be your best self to have maybe tough conversations with your partner.
Versus coming from a place of being grounded, knowing and being able to say, okay, I need a moment to come back to this, instead of just reacting in that moment, kind of having that predisposition when those hormones are you know, going up and down.
Absolutely. And that triggering, which is very, very close to estrogen, is also related to testosterone, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I want women to check in if any of the symptoms that we talked about resonate with them, if they think this might be them or the situation that they're dealing with.
Them out again.
So we have weight gain, we have emotional highs and lows, we have acne, we have feeling puffy, a lot of fatigue, just really that emotional component with a lot of the physical water retention. Think of someone, unfortunately, pregnancy is such a beautiful time in a woman's life, but a lot of women have a hard time with those changes because there's a lot of estrogen coming into the system at one time. So those types of symptoms,
which is good in this case. Which is good in this case, but we're saying like you wouldn't want to feel like that in, you know, outside of that scenario.
Exactly. And the woman will know, right? We intuitively know, like, I know how I feel 2 months out of the month, you know, 2 weeks out of the month, but I feel really different or really not in my body on the 1 or 2 weeks leading up to my period. And I just want to let people know and women know out there, like doesn't have to be that way. That transition each cycle can be more seamless. And especially if you're avoiding conversations with your partner or significant other because you don't, or they're avoiding conversations with you because you might have a harder time hearing things through. I think that's a fair point for a lot of women to understand and hopefully take, empower them to take charge of their hormone levels. So
testosterone now.
Testosterone is a big one, and I'm going to move to the men perspective. So testosterone, regardless of your partner, if they're male or not, women and men have testosterone. But specifically with men, I find low testosterone is just as much of a problem as too high. So in general, a lot of men in modern day have too low testosterone. This can be low libido, low energy, low motivation. It also kind of goes hand in hand with weight gain and obesity. So if your partner, if he's male and you're finding he's not quite himself, he doesn't feel his more energetic self, or on the opposite end of the extreme, aggressive tendencies, feeling more argumentative. Again, we're not talking the extremes that would require more intervention. We're talking about just day-to-day reactions. Maybe your partner's hard to compromise or meet you halfway, and things tend to blow up and explode pretty quickly. That might be worthwhile investigating testosterone. Women do have testosterone imbalances as well, but it shows up as more physical symptoms for them. Facial hair growth, thinning of hair, and that will definitely disrupt confidence, a woman's confidence. So if those symptoms are part of your health picture from a confidence standpoint, very important to address for your own self. So I think testosterone is one that kind of goes under the rug. For women, they need to properly test not only their total testosterone, but their free testosterone and their dihydrotestosterone, the active form. So just to get a full picture of your hormones, you don't want to dismiss them or blame them unless we get the whole picture.
Right. And I find conventionally, the different types of testosterone are not getting measured. It's like just the one. And Dr. Belus, repeat for us, these are the 3 types that if you're getting the the blood test done, this is what you want to check for. Tell us the 3 types
Definitely
again.
testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. And cortisol is the big one.
3 types of testosterone.
Yes, dihydrotestosterone, free testosterone, and total testosterone. All of those 3 need to be in the picture for us to understand what those numbers actually mean. Write it down, exactly. So those are really important. And then the biggie of the hormone picture when it comes to relationships and it comes to just feeling our best, feeling our most motivated, feeling less impatient or less irritable, literally the best version of ourselves, really comes out when our cortisol is balanced. Yeah. And you mentioned about not having proper testing done with cortisol. This is absolutely the case. It is very hard to pick up cortisol imbalances on a blood test when you test 1 time during the day. So people need to understand that cortisol ideally should be tested multiple times, 2 or 4 times throughout the day. And ideally it should be in the saliva or urine for accurate results. So cortisol is super important. Now, high cortisol or low cortisol, both are issues. So feeling low motivation, feeling lethargic, maybe not wanting to do a date night with your partner or not wanting to get out and try something new. There might be other issues going on, but it's definitely important to understand if you've been under chronic stress or a stressful period in your life, you might have cortisol depletion, and that's important to recognize.
And we talked, I prefaced this this entire live stream of saying we were out to dinner one night and we were just having this standard girl chat, and I was like, we need to tell people about this because this gets left under the table so many times. And about that, like, well, if I just really, I'm totally fine of not doing anything or just kind of feeling kind of sluggish and then and then that thought of, well, I should check my cortisol. Who isn't stressed these days? Who isn't chronically stressed these days?
Yes.
And oftentimes cortisol will get left under the table, not get checked, or it'll be so long that it has been out of balance that then it starts to affect other hormones. And we know that this can affect even thyroid health, right? So coming from proactive perspective, if we can catch it soon enough, we can do something more about it. And that's the point, because hormones talk to each other. If you have one thing that's out of balance, it's probably not just one thing, because it's a system.
Yeah, and that's the missing piece, right? Is that they're all connected. And if we take that proactive approach, exactly like you said, let's put all the pieces on the table. Let's get everything out there. And ideally, if everything's been addressed, if we look at all of our hormones, specifically testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol, if those 3 for most men and women are in balance and properly assessed, then you're off to the races. You can feel good about going the next level, but you can really rest assured that those foundational hormones are in place. And those are the first ones to kind of get thrown off. So cortisol, definitely, think about irritability, we think about lack of motivation, we think about wired but tired, highs and lows at the wrong times of day.
That. Wired but tired.
Yeah. And that's what people will say. If cortisol's through the roof, you might actually feel pretty good, but it's not sustainable. And then a lot of times we get very irritable. And who do we get most irritable with? It's usually the people closest to us. So, our family, our partners, these are the people that will see those changes. And when we talk about optimizing those relationships, we really want to put our best self forward, and investing in your relationship for that reason.
When you're talking about cortisol, all I keep hearing too, like in my own mind, is I feel like just through my discussions with my own patients, I feel like work. Like I feel like this would really manifest through work, your job, and then it kind of just would build up, and thinking that it's not, that it's only a workplace thing or there's an issue, when meanwhile the situation can actually start to have a hormonal effect, and then that hormonal effect can now start to rebound and affect other areas as well. So it's like a whole picture, and
and I think that's exactly that's the whole point of this, right? Is to let's talk about our hormones. Let's talk about how it's impacting our energy, how we communicate, how we deal with arguments, how we deal with frustrating day-to-day stressors, right? Our hormones are the messengers. And I think when we talk about getting the most out of our relationships, and that includes with ourselves, and especially in our romantic relationships, we want to optimize that. We want to have great communication. We want to feel energetic. And not every day, where everyone has their day for sure. But if we don't address the hormone picture, we are missing a huge piece in overall health. So I think that's the whole point of just bringing that up. It's not just about yourself. It really is about what you bring to the table.
Yes. Yeah. So tell
So,
us
so
again
I
the
hope that's
labs.
helpful.
Break
Yeah.
up the labs, the
Oh,
three, and then each type. Write it down again. Tell us the labs one
yes.
last
So
time.
definitely. So the three hormones that we really want to look at: cortisol, and that's going to be your saliva or urine testing, ideally 2 to 4 times in the day. So if you get a cortisol test from your naturopath, it's usually 2 little things that you'll have to use and sample, or 4. And that's to give us a full rhythm of what's going on throughout the day. That's cortisol. That's your stress hormone. That is what everyone should have at least once a year, even once in their lifetime, if they're currently trying to figure out their overall health. The second testing for women mainly is estrogen, and that can be tested in the blood, saliva, or urine. And I really tell women to make sure that they're testing when they're having the most symptoms or a week before their period. Okay, so if they're not having their period, they can test anytime when they have symptoms, but ideally they want to be testing a week before. That will give us the most accurate results of their estrogen. And then testosterone for men and women, this should be looked at in 3 forms: total testosterone, free testosterone, and our active form of testosterone, DHT. And those can be tested in the blood or saliva or urine as well.
So tell us, you are teaming up. Okay, I really love this, you guys, because there are, I like Dr. Belus Square. There's 2 of them. And one is a couples therapist, clinical psychologist, and my lovely friend here is a naturopathic doctor, and they are teaming up. And I love it. I read one post, she said, you know, your sister keeps the couples happy, you keep them healthy. We're combining it into this amazing, amazing retreat for couples. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're super excited. Dr. Jen and myself are hosting our first couples retreat in September, September 27th to 29th. So it's called our Elevate Wellness Retreat, and that's going to be happening in the Kawarthas. So kind of cottage country in just east of Peterborough, so a little bit east of both of us. In Ontario, and it's absolutely going to be a fantastic all-inclusive weekend. Great food, great workshops. We're going to talk about getting couples healthier, eating, meal prep, hormones. We're going to make it fun. And then Dr. Jen's going to talk about stress and feeling connected, and really awesome hands-on exercises to get you feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. Like, you're going to leave feeling, just happier and healthier, which we want. We want couples to do that. And health is a 2-pronged approach, right? Inside, outside.
Yeah, and connected. I love that. And leave feeling connected. Yeah. So the link
hormones are part of it.
Right. It is. It's a big part. It's a huge part. So I'm so happy that we were able to turn our dinner discussion into an educational bit, because people need this information. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. And the link for the retreat is in this video post. So it's in there. You can click the link, and you can always contact myself or contact Dr. Belus if you need more information regarding that. If you guys have any questions about anything that was discussed today, you can leave a comment, and then we'll be sure, Dr. Belus or myself, will be sure to respond to you guys, all right? Don't be shy. We're here to help.
Okay. Awesome. Such a great time chatting with you, Dr. Nadia, as always.
You as well. All right. Thank you, Dr. Belus. We'll catch you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.